Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Gentlemen, welcome. One of the consistent messages I hear from our partners in the region is the exceptional value they place on United States provided training, whether through the Fulbright program, the YSEALI program, the Young Southeast Asian Leaders Initiative, or the IMET program through DoD. I know that English language training also remains in high demand to help improve interoperability and facilitate future collaboration. These programs build relationships that leave positive impacts over decades as recipients move into senior leadership positions in their own countries. Assistant Secretary Crittenbrink, how does this, welcome, good to see you again, by the way. How does this budget expand our ability to offer these key programs and others like them to our Indo-Pacific allies and partners, and what more can we be doing?
Senator Duckworth, ma'am, nice to see you again.
Yes.
Thank you very much for your question. I couldn't agree more that I think people-to-people ties forms a bedrock for almost every bilateral relationship that we have in the region. You outlined many of the key exchange programs. There are many more, of course, Fulbright, YSEALI, IMET, and others. In the President's budget request, it includes a 13% increase in our diplomatic engagement budget, and that covers both our staffing across the region and also our public diplomacy program. So if you would like further details on exactly what would be involved, I'd be happy to come back to you with that. But we do agree with you that it's building people-to-people ties, and it's also being active in the information space to counter lots of the disinformation coming from various parts of the region that we think are vitally important for our long-term interests. But we're very much committed to people-to-people ties.
Thank you, and do come back with me with more detail.
Ma'am.
I do want to continue on a topic I discussed with Administrator Power last week regarding how this budget request helps prioritize consistent, clean, safe drinking water access for the priority countries. And I understand the priority list includes countries like Indonesia and Philippines. Assistant Administrator Schiffer, can you share more details with us regarding the investments and activities planned in both of these countries, Philippines and Indonesia, under the U.S. Global Water Strategy? And specifically, I'd like to hear a bit about how USAID has found success prioritizing local partners and local solutions that result in lasting improvements with domestic partners.
Thank you for that question, Senator. Working with local communities through the administrator's focus on localization so that we're pushing programs out to those that know best the problems that they face so that we can work with them to help build their capacity to face them is at the heart of much of the work that we do. And that's for water and sanitation as well as across a whole range of our works. On the programs in Indonesia and the Philippines specifically, I'll be happy to get back to you because we are still very much in keeping with the spirit of the localization effort and consulting and working with local partners so that we're taking on board their priorities as we develop those programs. We're still in the process of determining the pathway forward. But I can tell you that we have had tremendous success in Vietnam, as Assistant Secretary Crittenbrink knows from his time there, as well as in the Pacific Islands, in working with local communities on clean water and sanitation issues. And that is an area that we get a tremendous return on our foreign assistance and development dollars for building better relationships in those countries that then have all sorts of additional overflow equities for our diplomatic posture.
If you could get back to me at a later point with your plans on clean water initiatives in Indonesia and Philippines in particular, I'd appreciate it.
We'd be happy to.
Thank you. Secretary Crittenbrink, I want to talk to you about accessibility, ADA compliance. The lack of accessibility at so many of our facilities is a serious obstacle to full participation in the State Department with persons with disabilities, both for our own staff, but also when we host host nation members at events at the embassies. And it's also really tough for individuals with family members who may be disabled. When I went to Japan a couple years ago, I found the mission to not be accessible. I was offered to stay in a hotel room that I was told was going to be accessible. I got there, it was not accessible. My entire Codel had to move it very late in the evening to a different hotel. This last time that I went to Japan, I was offered a hotel room, luckily before we went. That was the same one that was found to be not accessible the last time I was there. And we flagged it, and we were put in one that was accessible. I saw that the State Department's FY24 budget request, and by the way, I think that the ambassador's residence is still not fully accessible in Japan. Yeah. I saw that the State Department's FY24 budget request includes $5 million for the accessible housing program, through which the department intends to provide at least one residence accessible to employees with disabilities at every post with a housing pool. Of those posts with a housing pool, how many missions in the EAP region currently lack accessible housing? And given the current funding available, how long do you expect it would take the department to ensure at least one accessible residence at every such mission in your region?
Senator, thank you very much for raising this very important issue. I'll need to take that back and come back to you with the details. I know that we're committed across the U.S. government and across our Bureau to make sure that our facilities are accessible, but I'll need to take that back to come back with you on the details. I do know that we've worked very hard to make our facilities accessible. It sounds to me like, based on your direct experience, we have a long ways to go, but I'm happy to take that back, and I'll get you a specific answer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair